So I see. Okay, this I don't know if I can make it in. Muirkirk in UK is the listed location for uh, this Kickstarter, and presumably
Hmm.
Nightfall Games.
Yeah.
Muirkirk is a very how would I put this nicely, forgettable little town in Scotland.
No, I don't know if I've ever been there.
It's no one's ever been there. That's kind of what I'm driving at. Let me just find it on Google Maps. Their link out from
Because
this.
I know some, like, I've been in some kind of tiny-ish towns in Scotland to do with my nieces and,
Oh, I see. Okay.
Troon and stuff, which also is not a big place. It's a town technically, but yeah.
Come on, show it to me. The old church, okay. As opposed to the new one? Why am I finding it so hard to get to Google Maps? Oh, just put the little man on the map so I can walk around this place virtually. God damn it.
The tap end of Stevenson.
I'm curious because this is what this guy presumably grew up in. It's a town that can barely, it's a village that can barely hide the surrounding hills from your view no matter where you stand on it. So you're always reminded that you are in a small dot of civilization surrounded by endless chaos. As everyone who knows Scotland will attest, it's unbridled it's stag-horned madness out there. I think I'm starting to see where Slay Industries comes from.
Do you remember who started Cubicle 7 Games?
No.
Angus Branson and
what
Dave
was
Alsop.
Cubicle? Did they? Wow,
they started
really?
Cubicle 7 Games.
This is now going in the episode.
2005.
Okay, right? I'm gonna make a crazy editorial choice here.
Yeah.
Welcome to the party. I have been Savage Mick, and this is.
It's on.
Yeah, and you've just been listening to us for a couple of minutes as we scroll Google Maps and riff on the topic, adjacent topics surrounding the subject of this episode. I'm sure there's a title card somewhere you've figured it out by now, and you're probably wondering how much Dave Alsop is paying us. What's the answer to that, Owen?
He's paying us nothing, which is
paying him,
which is a good going rate actually in the RPG industry. No writer gets rich doing this stuff, man. No writer gets rich doing this stuff. No. Listen,
wait, Chaosium is Dave Alsop and someone else's name I've already forgotten. What's the first product?
Not Chaosium. God.
Oh, sorry, Cubicle 7.
Cubicle 7 games start as a.
Well, there go the sponsors.
UK based games company that starts because Angus Branson, who was kind of a guy who worked in leisure games from age 14. If you've ever been in leisure games in London, great shop. And he wrote for a bunch of RPG magazines, and then himself and James Wallace and Simon Rogers and a couple other people resurrected Dragonmeat, the convention, in 2000, and then he bought it in 2005 and he merged it with Cubicle 7 in 2009. And Branson and Dave also were flatmates in 2003. I'm just looking at the Wikipedia page in this one. And they said, okay, we're going to make Slay Industries. And they laid out a publishing schedule for Slay Industries, which included 5 Slay books. That was the plan. The Cubicle 7 were going to produce 5 Slay Industry books. Now, CS1 was published by Cubicle 7, but that's about the extent of it.
Cannibal Sector 1, yeah.
Yeah, Cannibal Sector 1 was produced by it. And they then brought in Dominic McDowell because they gamed and clubbed together, and they basically brought him into Cubicle 7. And over time, they got the Doctor Who license. They made Star Blazer Adventures, which was kind of based on a bunch of UK comics. And they got the Laundry Files. They got the Lord of the Rings. and they had some difficulties, and Branson left, and the kind of Dominic Patel was left kind of in charge, and ultimately he moved it to Ireland, where it is currently residing, producing such games as
That's true. I think we've interviewed them, we've worked with them.
Yeah, Doctor Who, and so on.
Lots of good stuff.
Absolutely. So, but it's an interesting one, like the small nature of the industry in the UK, and as it kind of falls over into Ireland, and
for tax reasons, probably, or for access to the European market. I'm not sure. It's all very murky.
Dave Alsep. Dave Alsep is a skilled illustrator. You know, he's a very skilled artist.
He's a madman in a box.
He is definitely,
and that box is the world of progress. And there's more bits are being added to the box as we speak. Because as you may have figured out, folks, we're here talking about Slay Industries again. I think Warlord Scar might kill us if we keep doing this.
This is our third one of these. This is our third one where, you know, Savage and Owen talk about Slay Industries.
Because we love it so much, or we're trapped, or we don't know. We
to the mystification of everybody else.
I'm very confused. Yeah. So there is a Slay Industries Kickstarter going on at the moment called, it's for Threat Analysis 2, Cult, and also the Operatives Handbook, inverted commas, Player's Handbook, which purports after releasing the game in 1993, they've finally gotten around to saying, hey, maybe we should tell players how they might build their characters in a slightly more sort of coherent way. And I believe it's slated to be about 80 pages of material.
I think that's going to grow.
I think it'll have to.
As stretch goals allow, I'd say, every few hundred pounds that gets tossed on the pile, they might consider adding a little bit of extra content in there. So they did, I think about a little over a year ago, they did their previous threat analysis, which was Threat Analysis Collateral and the Shakhtar and Wraith Raider book. And we talked about those two books in a previous podcast and what we thought about them, what we thought they did for the game line. And now they're doing cults. And the cult book is 224 pages. It is lavishly illustrated, we are informed, and I 100% believe it'll have fabulous illustrations. That is the art has always been very good, and it is the Xi'an cult, the Misha cult, the Rawhead cult, the Swarm cults, and Stigmartyr, which aren't exactly a cult, but certainly care a lot about cults.
The anti-cult cult.
They're the anti-cult cult.
I wonder, will the Virtue Brigades get a look in there? They're kind of like a cult.
Yeah, I mean, kind of, but that's 224 pages. That's a full-size book. The second book they're doing is the Operatives Handbook, and the Operatives Handbook is streamlined character generation, character options, training packages. It's also got, interestingly, I think it's got an abbreviated basic rules for players. So if a player buys this book, they have the player rules.
And there's a quick start rule set for second ed anyways.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is looking dangerously coherent at this point.
Oh no, like the coherency is not the problem with this new Slay line. This is a product with a definite, this is filling this niche. It is all about living in Mort. Travel distances, food and drink, clothing, sector map, work in the job, security, SCLs, what they mean, BPNs, streamlined character generation, new feats and traits. This is all, kind of this is actually a player-facing book. And this looks to be a fully player-facing book. Like, GM will get value information out of it as well, but a player could buy this book and potentially they have the details they need to understand what the world is like. That's a good thing. Now, that's only down as being 80 pages. However, if we scroll down a bit, Midge, and we get down to the stretch goals, you will notice that much of the add-ons are things like side hustle bonuses, new ways to make unis, advanced rules for house and home, fines and crimes for operatives, side hustle sponsorship, venues in Mort, hobbies for operatives, side hustles bounties, this feels like this is bulking out book number 2. Depending on how successful this Kickstarter is, this is going to rapidly increase the size of that book to probably where if the Kickstarter goes well, it'll be a nice muscular little volume as well.
I mean,
would say.
Look, color me cynical, but some of these bullet points, they seem a little thin. I mean, let's just revisit the operative handbook contains the following, and you don't have to go very far down this list before you get to clothing and food and drinks. Like, I'm pretty sure walking down the high street will give me what I need to the inspiration that I can draw from for this time. If I just play Cyberpunk from CD Projekt Red for 30 minutes, I'll probably get what I need. I don't know if that's what you're putting in on your headline features, then I'm kind of wondering, like, is there... I hope this is a very small thing. Are you giving equal weight here to things that are very important, like working the job is another bullet point. Working the job strikes me as a massive part of how might you play this game? What might you expect to do? But is it going to be given the same sort of care and attention as the transit system? There's a sort of a...
What I'll say in defense of the food and drink bit, right, is you can actually get a nice amount of character detail and things to say sometimes that kind of immerse you a bit in the setting if you know what the name of the fast food places are called.
Sure.
Which sounds dumb. But instead of going, can I go grab a burger? You go, well, we're in a corporate hellhole. I'm going to go grab, the Slayer burger, or whatever, right?
Sloppy sloth and bucket of those spicy seal eyes.
And I'll just say that some of the stuff I still remember about Slay, like unprompted, is things like in the pit. The fast food places in the pit, I still remember. There's the place that does all you can eat meat, but it has a special exemption from the Equal Rights Act that they're allowed to bar entry for Shacktars and Stormers because they eat too much. And I still remember that. And in the second edition core book, I still remember the box out of Wee Mad Frank, proprietor of Wee Mad Frank's Wee Mad Falafels.
Yes, I read that today. Yeah.
So, yes, food and drink is nowhere near essential. But it's great if you get a good writer in there. It's great fodder for like cracking lines. Like I remember they talk about the what are the cannibals armed with, and it's like a sawn-off shotgun. It's 2 chances to make a difference before you get to the hacking. Though they pop me, sorry, I'm like yes, that's what I want. That's what I want.
So hopefully, lots more. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have flavor stuff, and let's face it, Slay has never lacked for flavor. In fact, I'm just reading the second edition book again today, and you can't go 2 pages without seeing another black box of in-world sort of vox pop dialogue. Some character in that world saying something. True, like Dave Alsop as a writer is just legion. There's a million voices in that head, and they're all inhabiting this mad rain-drenched city. It's quite something.
Did you see the guy? There's an excerpt from a character, and you read it, and you immediately realize it's a guy with this very strong South African accent.
Yeah, it's all. Yeah, you can just pick it up.
Min, I'm Royst van Rooyen. Have you got a problem with me accent, Min?
He's got an ear.
Because I'm a Tricarian contract hunter. You think we're all up shitty business in a grippina, eh, boy? Listen, let me tell you something, men. I'll catch any exotic animal you want and hand it all over to you for very affordable rates. No trouble. And I don't want that any bloody customs official get in the way of good business relations, men. Royst Slade Action von Rooyen, contract hunter. It's all the A's are E's. That's the trick there.
That's all you got to do.
Oh,
So I also noticed that as part of this, they're going to package the progress reports as a separate book.
yes.
Kind of neat because those have been products that have varied quite a bit in terms of their length and hence their price. And it's not always been like they're interesting little digests, but nice to see them all kind of. There's finally enough of them there, I suppose, to amass into a single book. That for those of us who might be a little phobic towards slim and easily lost volumes, nice to the kind of the definitive collection for the first 0 to 5, as they say here.
Yeah, I mean the fifth one wasn't out yet, so this is all of them put together in a single book. Now look, I'm a hoe for SLA. I have backed it for all 3 of the books. I mean, I'm not proud or tired. You know, I'm willing to pay for this stuff.
What are you hoping to see from?
Oh god!
So we're getting cults. I mean, so
yeah,
and it's fair to say, like, if you go and read the second edition book, and you've read it more often than I have, but it's fair to say that there's a slight some of the veil has been lifted on the SLA world, and there's an explicit call out of that as you get towards the end of the timeline section in the start of the main second edition book, where they go, look, this is now the world of change. We were the world of progress, and sort of things have been happening since the year 902-3, and it's up to what 915 now, and probably this book will progress a little further. Are we going to see a lot more stuff about White Earth, through the Xi'an cult?
Xi'an cult, 100%. But if you scroll down, Mick, towards the end of this page.
And I'd just like to point out that this has been overtaken by the real world Xi'an cult, which brings you fast fashion at incredible prices.
Get down to the crazy cultist who's greying out, literally.
Oh, yeah. It's an interesting bit of artwork, isn't it?
Yeah, and then look at what's around his neck.
Oh, I clocked this earlier. It's like no, it's not a VHS. There it is. It's an old audio tape.
Yeah. A literal old hard plastic cassette. Guess, Mick, what would it be?
What would it be? It's not The Cure or something, is it? I've got to open this.
It's not The Cure. It's not The Cure.
I'm going to zoom in here. Show me the thing. Yeah, he's fading out. It's The Riddle by
Nick Kershaw. Oh, we're very 80s here. So, I mean, that's you're definitely dipping back into that and keeping.
That's another thing. It's explicitly, and it says it at the start of this Kickstarter campaign, it's explicitly a game set in an 80s?
Yeah.
Question mark?
Or at least,
which is interesting because
spoilers, a parallel reality created by a guy in the 80s, effectively, functionally.
Yeah.
You know?
Given that the game came out in 93, like this is sort of is this just harder edge Stranger Things? Is that what we can say about SLA Industries at this point?
SLA is like it wants to be. It is splatterpunk. It wants to be splatterpunk. But it's very 80s, while at the same time benefiting from a lot of modern graphic design. You would have never seen this kind of work in the 90s. And we talked about that, like his 90s art versus his modern day art. He's been very productive. He's produced a bunch of content. I still don't have an adventure. Come on, guys! I'm willing to run this game. I need an adventure.
Keys of
Oh,
Drill.
No, we're not going back. We're not going back.
It would, yeah. This is definitely the BPNs are adventure hooks. Let's say
they're prompts. They're
something thoughts and prayers.
Experienced GM, and I'm all good with it. But give me something to hang my hat on. I want to run. I'm going to buy this game. I'm going to read it, chortling to myself, and then I'm going to shelve it away and never use it beyond that. Give me an adventure or two, not like an outline, not like a thing. Just give me an adventure or two, and then I'll try and deal with the system.
I think the Mr. Trick, there is, like, if you go down the tiers, you eventually get, where is it? Do you get the one where they give you BPN sheet? Is there BPN?
They do a little. It's I got it before. It's a little It's like a
Oh yeah, there
pad
it is.
of
Yeah,
BPNs, A6 size, and you write
as
your
an
BPN
add-on.
details in it, and you just pop it off and hand it to a player. It's great, little bit of fun. I've got the Piggy Wiggy tin, that kind of thing.
It's fine. These are previously produced
Yeah,
products,
and
and
they're all grand.
they are. But there's the weapon card deck, which
That's new.
is
That's
new.
new.
It's got
Yeah,
a
it's
lot
new.
of artwork from the secondhand book, uh, and it's a nice, presumably it's a nicely produced little laminate card deck that has the artwork and the stat lines for these cards. I think if you wanted to support that's a great player focused piece of kit. Here's your gear, here's your goodies. But honestly, there should be a BPN version of that are written fairly generically. But the real secret is you deal 2 or 3 of them out of the deck, and you've instantly got, here's 2 jobs that have to be tackled, and you kind of they're they're handled separately or mixed and matched or intertwined somehow. It's that kind of tarot read for your evening's
Yeah,
entertainment. It'd be, I think there's so many good ideas in the Slay universe that could be scrawled on a pack of cards. The blank sheet, great if you, 'cause a blank sheet is an in-universe object with a hastily scrawled and probably misspelled details of your next job. But to give, if in the absence of a concrete scenario, to instead say, here's 50 BPNs, deal any 2 to your players, and let's see what happens, would be, I think, a productive use of everybody's time. Maybe we should write them. Uh, but okay, so what else can we say about what do we want from this? It's a good. I mean, they're using this, and I suspect they're going to use almost every other Slay Kickstarter from now on as a way of springboarding people into Slay, because there is a tier you can support that gets you all the previous stuff, gets you everything you need to get going. So what's the line missing? I mean, there's a clear line of publications in terms of splat books that will deal with. We've had Collateral, we've got Cults coming. There's corporate, and it's the last threat category. There's 4 I know.
Oh, there
Conflict,
is. Yeah, it's conflict
conflict.
enemies. So they're gonna.
So
They
those are,
will. Yeah. I
presumably
want.
those are 2 books in our future.
One would hope, right? No,
We've been here before.
they've got like I was just looking back through some of the progress reports, which are their kind of some of their content they produced during COVID, and including the fall of the Vevafons and stuff, and which is kind of like this is an outline for mini campaign, but it's very much an outline, and I want
Yeah.
more. I
Can
want
I just
more of that.
highlight how genius it is that because some of the species races morphs that you can play and slay are actual corporate products, like the
Yeah,
Stormers, the Vevafons, the Carringin, is that what
yeah.
they're called?
The
Like
Manchines.
the Manchines. The fact that they are products in the Slay universe, and in some, with the Vivifon in particular and the Stormers, are controlled by the corporation, that you can simply product recall them when you
Yeah.
want to take them out of your game system, is because like Vivifons aren't playable anymore, are they?
No, they ended support.
They took them out.
That's
Like, that's genius.
it
That's
is. Yeah.
that works so well. It's, I can't think of another system or setting that supports that kind of tomfoolery so well, because as written mechanically they were just nutty. You could
They,
shift your stats around.
yeah, you shift your stats around. You can shift shape. I think they're another one that Dave turned his face against and said, "Right, I'm getting rid of these guys."
It's great
Because
artwork.
I always liked them. I always thought they were really cool.
Mm.
That they're kind of like this bioorganic T1000 ish,
Yeah,
and
and there were certainly kind of high system mastery stuff. Like, to run one of these, first of all, you got to understand how the hell the system works, and then you got to really kind of understand how you can push and pull that system to best effect. Like, you could make crazy things with Vivifons. Right. What else do you want to? So again, the other thing, I mean, I don't know. I haven't read Collateral yet, actually. How much further along does it push the story? And should we expect the same in Cult?
It's kind of it's setting up dominoes, I think, to fall, kind of going outlining this is a problem. This is what's going to keep happening unless we do something about it. Like they've been, one of the things they talk about is kind of dream entities turning into a race in the world of progress. So specific ones becoming like Darrow's were dream entities, and now they're a thing. And they're stable as dream entities. So it's kind of explaining, sort of pretty matter of factly, how you go from these are kind of a conception or an idea of a race into actually being a race in the world of Slay Industries, the world of progress. So it's funky stuff, and they're kind of like, well, like they become more dangerous in some ways and less dangerous in others. They're more rigid about what they've become now. So again, it's really cool idea stuff. I'm not sure where exactly it fits into playing, but good on Dave for engaging with this stuff. I want an adventure to a fully laid out adventure, not a kind of outlined adventure, so I can actually sit down, play this, run this, and try to figure out kind of how it works. How do I play in this setting? Because I find it demanding to try and think about how it works, and because is it inevitable you climb up the greasy corporate ladder until you're eventually betrayed and taken out of circulation, or what is it, just constantly climbing up the ladder? Because it is an interesting situation to be, where the problems are getting so much worse that ops have to be deployed to actually fix them, rather than just kind of stick a band-aid over them. That the problems are becoming kind of structural now, not just this is a bad PR look, but put out a new TV series and we'll be grand in a few weeks. And stuff is destabilizing now.
I suppose it's always this problem with the more esoteric settings. How do I run this? How do I frame this for my players? I think I'd have to reach for another child of the 90s to use as a hook for Slay Industries. It's something. I think it's Chris Carpenter is the guy's name who wrote and was the sort of lead on the original X-Files. And it was kind of an insight. It sort of illuminated why the X-Files worked for me when he made this clear. He says, "Look, Mulder and Scully are usually arriving into the story after it's happened." And BPNs can be a bit like that. An X-File and a BPN are very similar. Something's gone weird and wrong. We don't have time to deal with this, so we're sending you screw-ups instead. Off you go. You're under-resourced and no one really cares what happens to you. Which is like Mulder. Mulder would have been a great operative. And the truth, as the X-Files gets more sort of plot meta and sort of plot heavy, the truth is always just receding away from you. So whatever you uncover is just another layer of the lie that is further and further up into the sort of rarefied company that you don't dare keep. Now that's obviously adopting a very long form play approach to Slay, but there's so much in the game, you'd kind of almost want to sort of start. You'd want to have a plan to do that anyways. I think you can run kind of crash bang wallop once-offs in Slay, very much 80s action movie with a kind of hideous Lovecraft slash Geiger slash think quick Verhoeven bent to it all. Or look, if Krull was a cyberpunk,
the vibes are so strong.
The vibes are so strong.
The plot and the gameplay and the system make no sense. Compels me though.
keep coming back to it.
I just have endless time for it. It's because it's so shorn of the things that would mass appeal something.
It's kind of like having a crush, I think.
It is, but it's like this idealized game in some ways that isn't, in
No
some
one's
ways
listening at this point.
isn't meant to be played. I know it should be played, but isn't meant to be played in one way, and it's more beautiful for that. It's like there's nothing, no part has been shaved off to make this more acceptable to an audience. It's like, and I think they're genuinely trying to make it more approachable by being more transparent about the weirdness.
Yeah,
And
it's there in the longer form fiction in what they're releasing now. It's a little easier to piece together.
It's a bit like Destiny's lore, where the lore is way better than the story in the game. Way better, because it's not. You don't have to explain it. You can just read it and let it wash over you. And you go, God, I got the wiggles.
I've been cold turkey on Destiny for about 6 months.
Yeah, absolutely. Now. And like same here, we just got, because that was turning you into a rat in a Skinner machine. They're trying to make you just grind away at this. It
really was.
Make you grind away to drive up metrics. This game asks nothing of that from you.
It is kind of interesting. You're right. The Destiny over time layered on the weird races that became allies in a way that Slay kind of does as well. It peels back the weirdness, and they're kind of folded into the machine. As I say, like the dream entities are becoming more real in the setting in a weird way, less threatening in some ways, more quantifiable, and no, not a rabbit hole I can go down now. I'm alongside my Slay books. There's a collection of the Destiny lore books. That's how susceptible to rabbit holes I am. So that's
that's the stuff where it goes like it tapped into some of that same energy where the opening chapters you read, which is about the real world, it's tantalizing, or it's from the perception of Halloween Jack and he's kind of railing against Slayer for what he did. And as you get more context, you go, okay, that would make sense about why he's there. But it's the same stuff with the dark. The winnower starts talking to you, the darkness starts talking to you in the lore books, and you're like, oh wow, it's
Savathun's deal.
It's stuff you can't. It's very difficult to bring it across in the game, but it's kind of the high level kind of sci-fi concepts and weirdness that is it's so 90s, but it's so compelling. There's a real strain of 90s kind of sci-fi and horror and fantasy.
True.
Where it got very it kind of be chummily esoteric, where this kind of, you encounter these, strange, kind of eldritch beings who sit down and have this kind of vaguely threatening, but vaguely chummy at the same time conversation with you. And you can kind of see it looks like a man, but behind the thing, it's not a man. And that's and you get a little charge off doing that. And like those big ideas you used to get in sci-fi things where you go, what if this was true? What if that was true? Over I was on holidays and I was, for the first time, I often saw the book in chapters back in the 90s, but never read it. I read Werner Vinge's A Fire in the Deep.
Oh, Fire in the Deep, right.
That's such a good book. And there's a bit in it where there's a running string because it was just as Usenet was big. And there's a whole intergalactic Usenet running through it. And so the chapters start with kind of snippets of emails and conversations going on about people arguing about stuff. And most of them are wrong, except there's one alien from a gas giant who is trying to explain the problem as it actually is, but because he's an alien from a gas giant, he doesn't know the difference between legs and wheels. And that's a key part of it. When you're reading, you're going, he's trying to explain the problem, and he understands what the threats are, but because he's so outside the context, he can't explain it to them. He's going like,
Ian and Banks stole that particular conceit.
Do humans have 6 legs? This is the key insight. Hexapody is a key insight. It's brilliant stuff, and I was just reading it going, and I was just, oh man, I missed when it was written like that to a certain extent. it was about kind of big ideas and strange perception stuff, because a lot of sci-fi has been kind of humanized in some way, and more about the human condition, rather than going let's do a really strange idea and think about its implications all the way through. Which I think is really strong sci-fi, and it's less done nowadays. A lot of the bang whiz sci-fi, which I like a bit of bang whiz sci-fi, kind of misses out on that, the kind of the big idea stuff.
It's funny because I mean the thesis of Slay is that everything's a bit rubbish and dinner is coming on a tray in front of the TV, but it immediately butts up against very big weird ideas. I suppose almost this suspicion. I suppose maybe Slay touches on those neurons that set off the conspiracy-minded. It's this sort of, there's something just behind what is evident. I can just about taste it, and I'm not sure what that is. I'm not even sure I like the taste, but I can't stop licking the walls.
It's a very 90s RPG that's tried to modernize itself.
Would you say it's succeeding?
System-wise, no. But
you don't think the second Ed revision is any?
I don't think it's a very good system. I think functionally it's not a very good system. The math ain't mathin', put it that way. And I would play it, and I think I know exactly what the problems would be almost immediately. But I would play it to try it out and see is it wrong in the way I think that it's wrong. I think it is, but I'm usually right, but I want to play it to make sure. I don't want to accuse it I need to play a game before I fully understand it. I don't actually. I can read and understand a lot of games, but I want to play it to see that I'm right about what I'm kind of complaining about. And I really want to play this game, but I don't know exactly where to start, because the game is kind of it's not as accessible as it kind of should be. It's sort of this is a medium advanced GM stuff, but additionally on top of that, I'm not sure what the play loop is, and I'm not sure where kind of players are meant to end up, and that's a big-ish issue for me, because it doesn't guide me the way that I'd like to be guided about how this is meant to run. And I'd like a bunch of art. Like they're so good at the art. Give me a bunch of art showing me scenes of what's going to happen in this adventure. Give me a couple of maps. Go, here are the tools to run this game, and I'll go off and run it. I will try it. Give my old college try, the full press, see if there's anything here. But yeah, it's not there now. I was hoping that this Kickstarter, if it gets very successful, they might throw in an adventure or a campaign.
It's not in the stretch goals, is it?
No, not yet. And they did. So they released a Terminator RPG based off the same system, and they did a campaign for that. So it is my hope that maybe somebody decides, we should probably put a campaign together for Slay and tap some of their freelancers for that. Because I would like to see what it looks like. Will this unlock Slay for me? Because that's what I wanted to be unlocked.
Slay the game as opposed to slay the sizzle reel in your head.
Slay the pure vibes that that are pure sound that resound with my soul. Yeah, that's what I need. I need the actual game bit.
So you're backing it then?
Of course I'm backing it up.
I backed it while we were talking.
I'm a terrible, terrible weak man for this sort of thing.
Well, look, and therein we find ourselves in weakness. It defines us as much as our strengths. It is the outline to ourselves and our dark shadows on White Earth, or something. I'm not sure. I could run this game either.
And when the PDF comes out, we should read it and go back and talk about it again. This is our book club.
And the rest, you're just here for the vibes. Okay, let's call it there, folks. If anyone knows what's going on in Slay, please come find us on the Discord. If we get enough interest, we could open up the book club to kind of a participation event. Who knows? We could do something crazy. But for now, I think it's fair to say that
This party's over.
Thank you for listening to The Adventuring Party. Join us on our Discord server, where we keep the party going after hours. Otherwise, you can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Twitter, or you can email the hosts at party@theadventuringparty.net. The Adventuring Party is released under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike version 3 license, but you probably knew that already. We hope you enjoyed the episode, and look forward to seeing you back here next week. Goodbye.